I walked into my old room and froze. There it was. My wedding dress, stuffed into a black garbage bag, half hanging out like a piece of trash. My daughter-in-law's laughter echoed from the hallway. "Finally," she said, "that old rag's out of the way." My chest tightened so hard I could barely breathe. That wasn't just a dress. It was the last piece of the life I built with my late husband. The one memory that had survived everything. Have you ever had someone throw away something precious to you? Tell me where you're listening from, because if you've ever been disrespected like that, you'll understand exactly what I felt in that moment. I just stood there, staring at the bag. The ivory lace peeked through the torn plastic, yellowed by time but still beautiful. My hands trembled as I reached for it, not because I was weak, but because anger makes your body shake when your voice can't. My son, Marcus, had promised me peace when he and his wife, Tasha, moved in. "Mom," he said, "you've been alone long enough. Let us help out." Help, I thought. That's what I wanted to believe. At first it was fine. She'd cook sometimes, and I'd thank her even when the food was too salty. I gave her space, told myself she was young and trying to make this house her own. But slowly, things started disappearing. My framed wedding photo vanished from the wall. My old china, gone. My favorite chair replaced. Then came the comments. "You really don't need all this clutter," Tasha would say, flashing that smile that never reached her eyes. Or worse, when she'd pat my hand and whisper, "You should rest more, Mom. Let us handle things now." I knew what that meant. Let us handle you. But the wedding dress, that was different. That was sacred. My husband, Charles, had bought it when we couldn't even afford rent. He worked double shifts just so I could have it. Every thread had meaning. Every stitch had love. And now it was trash. Tasha must have seen me standing there because she sauntered in, arms crossed, that smug look glued to her face. "Oh, that thing?" she said. "I thought we agreed this room needed a little update. You've had that dress forever. It's just collecting dust." I could hear my pulse in my ears. "That dress," I said slowly, "is part of my life." She laughed. "Exactly. Your life, not ours." Marcus walked in behind her holding his phone, barely looking up. "Mom, don't make a big deal out of this. We're just trying to declutter." Declutter. That's what they called it. Erasing me. One piece at a time. I wanted to scream, but something stopped me. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was the voice of my late husband whispering, "Not yet." So I didn't say another word. I waited until they left for dinner that night. Then I went outside, hands cold against the garbage can, and pulled the bag open. The lace brushed against my wrist, fragile but still there, just like me. I carried it back to my room and laid it across my bed. It still smelled faintly of roses and the faintest trace of the perfume Charles had bought me for our wedding day. I ran my fingers across the seams, remembering the way his hands had fastened my veil, the way he whispered, "You'll always have a piece of me." I thought it was just a memory. I didn't realize it was a promise, one he'd kept hidden inside that very dress. Because what I found inside just a few nights later would change everything. That night, sleep never came. I sat on the edge of my bed, the soft fabric of my wedding dress spread across my lap like a fragile ghost of my past. Every time I blinked, I saw Charles's smile, kind, tired, full of the love we built this home on. Outside, the moonlight fell across the walls, glinting faintly off the lace. Something inside me whispered, "Look closer." At first I thought I was imagining it. A slight bulge in the inner lining, a spot where the stitching seemed heavier, uneven. I brushed my hand over it and felt something hard underneath, small but solid. My heart began to pound. I fetched my sewing scissors from the drawer and carefully snipped the seam open. Inside, folded tight and yellowed by age, was a sealed envelope with my name on it, written in Charles's handwriting. The sight of it made my hands tremble. I hadn't seen his handwriting in over 20 years. I pressed it to my chest before daring to open it. Inside was a letter, short and shaky. My love, if you ever find this, it means I couldn't tell you in time. The house is yours, and only yours. I never changed the deed, no matter what anyone says. I left the documents behind the panel in my office drawer. I wanted to protect you even when I'm gone. Yours forever, Charles. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. All these years, I thought I was living in this house under Marcus's name. I'd trusted him to handle things after Charles's passing. He was my boy, my only son. I never thought he'd... I pressed the letter to my heart and felt tears stream down my face. But then anger rose like fire behind my ribs, because now everything made sense. Tasha's sudden interest in decluttering, Marcus urging me to rest, to take breaks, to let go. The whispers I'd heard late at night when they thought I was asleep. They weren't helping me. They were planning to take everything. The next morning, I acted normal. I made breakfast, humming softly while the smell of eggs filled the kitchen. Tasha strolled in wearing her silk robe, scrolling through her phone. "Morning," I said sweetly. She blinked, surprised. "Oh, morning." Marcus joined her, yawning. "You okay, Mom? You seem cheerful." I smiled, pouring coffee into their mugs. "Why wouldn't I be? It's a beautiful day." Inside, my heart was racing. I knew I had to be smart, quiet, careful. Because now I had the one thing they didn't: proof. After they left for work, I went straight to Charles's old study. Dust coated the desk, but I still knew every corner by heart. My hand slid along the drawer's edge until I found it, a loose wooden panel at the back. I pulled it free, and there they were. Papers bound together, the original deed with my name, only my name, written clear as day. I sank to my knees, clutching them tight. "You kept your promise, Charles," I whispered. For the first time in months, I felt strength return to my bones. That evening, when Tasha came home, she was humming, her favorite tune, the one she played when she was smug. She walked past my room, stopped, and frowned. "Why's that old dress on your bed again?" I didn't flinch. "Because it belongs here." Her lips twisted. "Marcus said you were supposed to rest. You shouldn't be getting emotional about old things. It's not healthy." I met her gaze, calm and steady. "Oh, I'm feeling much better now." That seemed to unsettle her. She hesitated for a moment, then turned away, muttering, "Fine, just don't make a mess." But that night, I saw her. Through the crack of my door, I caught her sneaking into Charles's office. She was rifling through drawers, desperate, whispering into her phone. "Yeah, it's not here. Maybe she moved it." So she knew. She was looking for the deed. I almost laughed. She had no idea it was already in my hands. I waited till she left, then slipped out, quietly locking the office door behind me. When I turned back toward my room, I paused by the window. The moonlight poured in again, same as the night before. I touched the fabric of the dress, folded now and tucked safely in its box. Charles's voice echoed in my heart again. "You'll always have a piece of me." And for the first time, I whispered back, "And now I have the power to take it all back." The next day, I made an appointment with Mr. Reynolds, Charles's old lawyer. His eyes went wide when I placed the papers on his desk. "Mrs. Harris," he said softly, "do you know what this means?" I nodded. "It means my son and his wife can pack their bags." He gave a slow smile. "It means they'll have no legal claim to your house whatsoever." When I walked out of that office, I felt lighter, like I was walking on the air. The world outside seemed brighter, louder, more alive. I wasn't just an old woman they could push around anymore. I was the owner, the survivor, and soon, the one they'd regret crossing. That night, as I tucked the documents away in a safe place, I whispered to myself, "They think I'm fragile, but the truth inside that dress will show them just how strong I still am." When morning came, I didn't feel weak anymore. I didn't feel small or invisible either. I stood at the kitchen counter, sunlight cutting across the floor, the smell of fresh coffee rising up. But this time, it wasn't for them. I had spent years serving breakfast to people who thought they were smarter than me, who thought my silence meant ignorance. Today, the silence had power. Today, I would let them talk, and I would simply listen until it was time to speak. Marcus and Tasha came down the stairs, bickering about something trivial as usual. He wore his crisp work shirt. She wore her diamond earrings, gifts from me, though she'd never admit it. "Morning, Mom," Marcus said, distracted, already scrolling through his phone. I smiled softly. "Morning, sweetheart." Tasha's eyes flicked toward me, sharp as always. "You're up early," she said, her voice sugary but her smile too tight. "Couldn't sleep," I replied, stirring my tea slowly. "You know how it is, old women and their memories." She laughed, that fake, brittle laugh that never reached her eyes. "Well, as long as you're not planning to fill the house with any more of your old junk, we're good." I looked at her, long and steady. "Don't worry, dear. I've already decided what to do with the old things." Something in my tone made her pause. Her smile faltered, just a little. But Marcus didn't notice. He never did. As soon as they left, I went to the lawyer's office again, this time with a plan. Mr. Reynolds greeted me with his usual warmth. "Mrs. Harris, I reviewed the documents. Your ownership is unquestionable. Would you like me to proceed formally?" "Yes," I said, my voice firm, "and I want a copy of the transfer papers ready for them to see." He nodded. "You're sure about this?" I smiled, calm but cold. "They threw out my wedding dress like it was trash, Mr. Reynolds. Inside that dress was the last letter my husband ever wrote to me, and they thought I'd never find it." His eyes softened with understanding. "Then let's make this right." When I came home that afternoon, the house was quiet. Too quiet. I found Tasha in the living room, sitting with a realtor. For a second, I thought I'd misheard. But then I saw the man's clipboard, the camera, and the words that made my stomach twist. "So this is the living room," Tasha was saying. "The space is a little outdated, but with some work." I stepped into the room. "What's going on here?" She froze. "Oh, Mom, I didn't expect you back so soon. We were just selling my home?" I finished for her, my voice low. The realtor looked from her to me, eyes wide. I think I'll come back later," he stammered, and practically ran for the door. Tasha's face went pale. "It's not what it looks like." "Oh, it looks exactly like what it is," I said, my tone calm but cutting. "You couldn't wait, could you? You thought once you threw out the dress, the last piece of me would be gone. But you forgot something, dear. The house you're standing in, it's not yours. It never was." Marcus came in halfway through the sentence, confusion written all over his face. "What's happening?" "Ask your wife," I said, turning toward him. "She seems to have all the answers." Tasha stammered. "She's just upset. She doesn't understand." I took a deep breath, reached into my purse, and pulled out a crisp envelope. I laid it gently on the table between us. "This," I said, "is the truth." Marcus frowned, reaching for it. He unfolded the documents and froze. His lips parted, his eyes darting from the page to me. "Mom, this says the house belongs to me," I finished. "Has always belonged to me. Your father made sure of that before he died." Tasha's jaw dropped. "That's not possible. Marcus told you what you wanted to hear," I said, "and you told him what to believe. But your little plan, it's over." The color drained from her face. For years, I dreamed of moments of peace, family dinners, laughter, simple kindness. But as I stood there watching their faces twist with shame, I realized something. Sometimes peace doesn't come wrapped in softness. Sometimes it comes through truth, sharp and cold as glass. Marcus tried to speak, but his voice cracked. "Mom, I didn't know she—" I raised a hand. "Don't. You let her disrespect me, manipulate me, throw away the last thing your father left me. You stood by her side while she planned to sell the house I built with my own hands." He looked down, guilt washing over him like a wave. Tasha finally snapped, her voice shaking. "You can't kick us out. We have nowhere else to go." I looked her dead in the eyes. "You had no problem throwing me out, remember? Now you'll know what that feels like." She stormed off, slamming the door, muttering words I no longer cared to hear. Marcus stayed still. For a long moment it was silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. Then he whispered, "I'm sorry, Mom." I sighed, turning away. "I know, baby, but sorry doesn't rebuild trust." He looked at the documents again, at the letter in Charles's handwriting that I'd left on top. I watched his expression shift from guilt to heartbreak. He finally said, "I didn't deserve him, or you." Maybe not, I thought. But I didn't say it aloud. Instead, I folded the papers, slipped them back into my purse, and whispered, "Dinner's in the fridge if you're hungry." That night, I sat alone in the quiet house, my tea steaming in the cup, the lace of my wedding dress draped across my lap. Outside, rain began to fall, soft, cleansing. I looked up at the ceiling and smiled faintly. "Charles, you can rest easy now," I murmured. "Your secret saved me." And for the first time in years, I felt free, not just from their lies, but from the weight of silence itself. That night, I sat by the window with the wedding dress laid across my knees. Yellowed lace, soft as memory, holding more weight than it ever had before. The fabric smelled faintly of cedar and thyme, and somewhere in its folds I could still hear my husband's voice, gentle and steady. "Take care of yourself, May. If you ever feel alone, remember, I left something behind for you." For years I thought he meant the dress itself, but now I knew better. He'd meant the truth. When I unfolded the inner seam, the hidden envelope was still there, brittle but untouched by time. His handwriting was the same I'd memorized from every grocery list, every birthday card, every note he used to leave beside my morning coffee. "May," it began, "if they ever make you feel like you don't belong, remember, this home, this life, is yours. No one can take that from you." I pressed the paper to my heart and whispered, "Thank you, Charles." The next morning I woke to the sound of footsteps, heavy, hesitant. Marcus. He stood in the doorway, his eyes red, his hands shaking slightly. "Mom," he said, barely above a whisper. "Tasha packed her things. She's gone." I didn't answer right away. I just kept pouring my tea. He cleared his throat. "I didn't know she was trying to sell the house. I swear I didn't." I looked up at him. My son, the boy I once held against my chest when storms rattled the windows. "You didn't want to know," I said softly. "That's the same thing." He dropped his head. "I guess I got so used to her voice. I forgot to listen to yours." There was pain in his voice, real pain, but I didn't rush to comfort him. For the first time in my life, I let the silence sit between us. Finally, I said, "Your father's letter saved me, but it also saved you, because now you get to see what kind of woman you really married." Marcus blinked hard. "I don't even know who I am anymore, Mom." "You're my son," I said, standing tall, "and maybe it's time you start acting like it." He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. "Can I stay for a while? Just until I figure things out?" I studied his face. He looked older, heavier somehow, not just from age, from regret. "Maybe," I said, "but you'll have to earn it this time." His lip trembled. "How?" I smiled faintly. "Start with dinner. I've been cooking alone for too long." He let out a weak laugh, then moved to the kitchen. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. That evening, the house smelled of cornbread and rosemary. Marcus washed the dishes while I sat at the table, the dress folded neatly beside me. He turned to me suddenly and asked, "Mom, why didn't you tell me about the letter before?" "Because," I said, Sometimes the truth only works when it's earned. You had to see it for yourself. He nodded slowly, the understanding finally sinking in. The clock ticked quietly. Outside, the streetlights came on one by one, painting the world gold and quiet. I traced my fingers over the lace one last time, then stood up. "Come on," I said. "Where?" "To the backyard," I smiled. "We've got something to do." He followed me out back where the garden still held the last bloom of summer. I laid the wedding dress across the old wooden bench, the same bench Charles had built the year Marcus was born. "Mom, are you sure?" he asked. I nodded. "It's done its job." I struck a match. The flame flickered, small and trembling. Then it caught. The dress burned slow, its lace curling inward like closing petals. Ash drifted up into the night air, soft as forgiveness. Marcus stood beside me, silent. When it was over, I said, "It's funny, isn't it? They thought they threw it away, but really it was me who finally let it go." He looked at me, tears in his eyes. "You're stronger than anyone I know." I smiled, brushing the ashes from my hands. I had to be. Life doesn't always give you the chance to start over. Sometimes you have to make it yourself. Weeks passed. The house grew quieter. Marcus stayed, helping with repairs, cooking dinner, sitting beside me in the evenings without saying much. But that was fine. Some bonds heal better in silence. One morning I received a letter from the lawyer. The house was officially transferred, not to Marcus, not to anyone else, to me in full. At the bottom of the page was a small note from Mr. Reynolds. "Charles would have been proud of how you handled this." I folded the letter and tucked it beside the last photo of me and Charles. My hand lingered on the frame for a moment. "Rest easy, love," I whispered. "Your girl's still standing." That night, as I sat by the window again, a soft rain began to fall, the kind that makes the world smell like second chances. I closed my eyes, breathing in the peace I'd fought so hard to find. They took my dress. They tried to take my dignity. But they forgot something. You can't strip strength from a woman who's already survived heartbreak, loss, and betrayal. Because when life burns down what you love most, a woman like me just learns how to rise from the ashes.